one receive them formally, stand bowing in the entrance hall, or anything of that sort?" "Not necessarily, not unless one wishes. The modern hotel proprietor is not like an innkeeper of the Middle Ages, and even princes do not expect to see him unless something should happen to go wrong. As a matter of fact, though the Grand Duke of Posen and Prince Aribert have both honored me by staying here before, I have never even set eyes on them. You'll find all arrangements have been made." They talked a little longer, and then Racksole said good night. "Let me see you to your room. The lifts will be closed and the place will be deserted. As for myself, I sleep here," and Mr. Babylon pointed to an inner door. "No thanks," said Racksole. "Let me explore my own hotel unaccompanied. I believe I can discover my room." When he got fairly into the passages, Racksole was not so sure that he could discover his own room. The number was 107, but he had forgotten whether it was on the first or second floor. Travelling in a lift, one is unconscious of floors. He passed several lift doorways, but he could see no glint of a staircase. In all self-respecting hotels, staircases have gone out of fashion, and though hotel architects still continue, for old sake's sake, to build staircases, they are tucked away in remote corners where their presence is not likely to offend the eye of a spoiled and cosmopolitan public. The hotel seemed vast, uncanny, deserted. An electric light glowed here and there at long intervals. On the thick carpets Racksole's thinly shod feet made no sound, and he wandered at ease to and fro, rather amused, rather struck by the peculiar senses of night and mystery which had suddenly come over him. He fancied he could hear 1,000 snores peacefully descending from the upper realms. At length he found a staircase, a very dark and narrow one, and presently he was on the first floor. He soon discovered that the numbers of the rooms on this floor did not get beyond 70. He encountered another staircase and ascended to the second floor. By the decoration of the walls he recognized this floor as his proper home, and as he strolled through the long corridor he whistled a low meditative whistle of satisfaction. He thought he heard a step in the transverse corridor, and instinctively he obliterated himself in a recess which held a service cabinet and a chair. He did hear a step. Peeping cautiously out, he perceived, what he had not perceived previously, that a piece of white ribbon had been tied round the handle of the door of one of the bedrooms. Then a man came round the corner of the transverse corridor, and Racksole drew back. It was Jules. Jules with his hands in his pockets and a slouch hat over his eyes, but in other respects attired as usual. Racksole at that instant remembered with a special vividness what Felix Babylon had said to him at their first interview. He wished he had brought his revolver. He didn't know why he should feel the desirability of a revolver in a London hotel of the most unimpeachable fair fame, but he did feel the desirability of such an instrument of attack and defence. He privately decided that if Jules went past his recess he would take him by the throat, and in that attitude put a few plain questions to his highly dubious waiter. But Jules had stopped. The millionaire made another cautious observation. Jules, with infinite gentleness, was turning the handle of the door to which the white ribbon was attached. The door slowly yielded, and Jules disappeared within the room. After a brief interval, the night-prowling Jules reappeared, closed the door as softly as he had opened it, removed the ribbon, returned upon his steps, and vanished down the transverse corridor. "This is quaint," said Racksole. "Quaint to a degree." It occurred to him to look at the number of the room, and he stole towards it. "Well, I'm damned," he murmured wonderingly. The number was 111, his daughter's room. He tried to open it, but the door was locked. Rushing to his own room, number 107, he seized one of a pair of revolvers, the kind that are made for millionaires, and followed after Jules down the transverse corridor. At the end of this corridor was a window. The window was open. And Jules was innocently gazing out of the window. 10 silent strides and Theodore Racksole was upon him. "One word, my friend," the millionaire began, carelessly waving the revolver in the air. Jules was indubitably startled, but by an admirable exercise of self-control he recovered possession of his faculties in a second. "Sir?" said Jules. "I just want to be informed what the deuce you were doing in number 111 a moment ago." "I had been requested to go there," was the calm response. "You're a liar, and not a very clever one. That's my daughter's room. Now, out with it. before I decide whether to shoot you or throw you into the street." "Excuse me, sir, number 111 is occupied by a gentleman." "I advise you that it is a serious error of judgment to contradict me, my friend. Don't do it again. We will go to the room together, and you shall prove that the occupant is a gentleman and not my daughter." "Impossible, sir," said Jules. "Scarcely that," said Racksole, and he took Jules by the sleeve. The millionaire knew for a certainty that Nella occupied number 111, for he had examined the room with her, and himself seen that her trunks and her maid and herself had arrived there in safety. "Now open the door," whispered Racksole when they reached number 111. "I must knock." "That is just what you mustn't do. Open it. No doubt you have your pass key?" Confronted by the revolver, Jules readily obeyed, yet with a deprecatory gesture, as though he would not be responsible for this outrage against the decorum of hotel life. Racksole entered. The room was brilliantly lighted. "A visitor who insists on seeing you, sir," said Jules, and fled. Mr. Reginald Dimmock, still in evening dress, and smoking a cigarette, rose hurriedly from a table. "Hello, my dear Mr. Racksole. This is an unexpected pleasure." "Where's my daughter? This is her room." "Did I catch what you said, Mr. Racksole?" "I ventured to remark that this is Miss Racksole's room." "My good sir," answered Dimmock, "you must be mad to dream of such a thing. Only my respect for your daughter prevents me from expelling you forcibly for such an extraordinary suggestion." A small spot halfway down the bridge of the millionaire's nose turned suddenly white. "With your permission," he said in a low, calm voice, "I will examine the dressing room and the bathroom." "Just listen to me a moment," Dimmock urged in a milder tone. "I'll listen to you afterwards, my young friend," said Racksole, and he proceeded to search the bathroom and the dressing room without any result whatever. "Lest my attitude might be open to misconstruction, Mr. Dimmock, I may as well tell you that I have the most perfect confidence in my daughter, who is as well able to take care of herself as any woman I ever met. But since you entered it, there have been one or two rather mysterious occurrences in this hotel. That is all." Feeling a draught of air on his shoulder, Racksole turned to the window. "For instance," he added, "I perceive that this window is broken, badly broken, and from the outside. Now, how could that have occurred?" "If you will kindly hear reason, Mr Racksole," said Dimmock in his best diplomatic manner, "I will endeavour to explain things to you. I regarded your first question to me when you entered my room as being offensively put, but I now see that you had some justification." He smiled politely. "I was passing along this corridor about 11 o'clock, when I found Miss Racksole in a difficulty with the hotel servants. Miss Racksole was retiring to rest in this room when a large stone, which must have been thrown from the embankment, broke the window, as you see. Apart from the discomfort of the broken window, she did not care to remain in the room. She argued that where one stone had come, another might follow. She therefore insisted on her room being changed. The servants said that there was no other room available with a dressing room and bathroom attached, and your daughter made a point of these matters. I at once offered to exchange apartments with her. She did me the honour to accept my offer. Our respective belongings were moved, and that is all. Miss Racksole is at this moment, I trust, asleep in number 124. Theodore Racksole looked at the young man for a few seconds in silence. There was a faint knock at the door. "Come in," said Racksole loudly. Someone pushed open the door, but remained standing on the mat. It was Nella's maid, in a dressing gown. "Miss Racksole's compliments, and 1,000 excuses, but a book of hers was left on the mantel-shelf in this room. She cannot sleep, and wishes to read." "Mr Dimmock, I tender my apologies. My formal apologies," said Racksole, when the girl had gone away with the book. "Good night." "Pray don't mention it," said Dimmock suavely, and bowed him out. Chapter 4. Entrance of the Prince. Nevertheless, sundry small things weighed on Racksole's mind. First there was Jules' wink. Then there was the ribbon on the door handle and Jules' visit to number 111, and the broken window, broken from the outside. Racksole did not forget that the time was 3 a.m. He slept but little that night, but he was glad that he had bought the Grand Babylon Hotel. It was an acquisition which seemed to promise fun and diversion. The next